Hey, everybody. Welcome to a late, but not super late episode of Tactical Crouch. We're a competitive Overwatch podcast. And we're coming at you live a little bit later in the afternoon. That's why it's so light in my room, so dark in Yiska's. And Joe's room is actually the same lighting year-round. Does not change.
Sorry for the malfeasance of making you guys wait, of course.
Yeah, you had some internet troubles.
It happens.
Man, you going through all that suffering of not having the information when you expect it or as soon as possible. That's rough, man.
Here's the thing, though. If you were doing your job, I would get the information I want when it's convenient for me and nobody else.
Yeah. Absolute babies, dude.
We starting there? Are we going to start there?
Absolute babies.
We're not going to start there. We're going to
children.
No, let's chill.
We're going to dangle that rope. We're going to dangle that rope a little bit. We'll see what comes up. Thanks for being here for episode 62, though. Coming at you live at twitch.tv/KickedTripod, patreon.com/tacticalcrouch, twitter.com/tactical_crouch. Of course, Yiska out, Joe at Volamel, myself at KickedTripod. There it is. That's all we needed to do.
Bang. Done.
Done.
That's the show.
Not f***ing around today, chat. Got the band hammer out. I'm ready to go. It's gonna be a real one. So let's talk about this really quick. Let's get into the news. The November 11th deadline for exercising team options has passed. All teams need to have 8 players by November 15th. It's the 12th right now.
Yep.
Have never said the word 11th and then finished the word 12th in the same word before. 12th. 12th.
Nice.
Yeah, it's we've got 3 days left for teams to have a minimum of 8. And Mayhem, Uprising, Spitfire, and Gladiators, I believe these notes were taken yesterday, and I'm not thinking of any there, but I believe
Mirror
they all
was
have.
announced today, right?
Oh, yeah, for the Gladiators, Mirrors. So Mirror is off.
Yeah.
So Gladiators have 8 now. But yeah. So a few teams still left at 7. We're going to talk more about that as we progress through this impromptu show that I don't feel prepared for anymore.
Well, be good.
We're good.
Contenders fans be damned. Today, XL2 will not participate in Contenders. They're on a quote-unquote hiatus. Joe, does this make you happy Papa Bear Tier 2?
Not particularly. I think it's more of a result of how difficult it is to run and actually have a successful tier 2 team. It kind of also spells some oddities with their parent company, with Anbox, with how XL2 in general was run. Slightly questionable things happening. In terms of how the team was built for, I believe, at the start of this year. And now with their subreddit being deleted in favor of just like a big umbrella subreddit for all of their teams, the parent companies, teams and the Call of Duty League and the Overwatch League. And it just doesn't make a ton of sense. I think this is like, I would say, Andbox's first like black mark for me. It's just like, what are you guys doing? Like this doesn't make much sense in terms of just like moving away from Contenders after being fairly successful. I can again, like I'd imagine it's probably business related rather than just being unhappy with the performance and trying to reevaluate things. But I think this spells more towards the Contenders format and a lot of the restrictions that are placed on these teams rather than they as a parent company. It just kind of coincided together, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Another black mark on NOXL though today is they did merge their subreddits.
Yeah.
Going for the double whammy, aren't they?
It just doesn't.
Get
it just
all
didn't
out of the
make
way.
much
If you're gonna have bad press, just get it all out of the way in a week.
Yeah.
Just get it all out of there.
Not fantastic.
Yeah. That's such a weird move. Like, why would you think that would go well? It's like, Yeah, I'm fan of a credit union, by the way. Like, and whatever they support, I'm fan of this guy's trust fund. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't understand what the underlying. Even though I will say, if anyone was to do it, it probably is NYXL because they have such a distinct style to their brands.
Sure.
And it's like they are very good at it, which makes it even more weird that they go there, right?
So-
Like they do so much good stuff in terms of branding, and then it's just sometimes it's just like boom. And this time around, I don't even think it's really about like messaging errors. Like if you think back, we had this scandalous week where they said, "Oh, we want local talent, but not with their contenders team." That really was more down to a way of miscommunication because the team that they ended up with was actually not that terrible,
No.
right? So this time around, I don't know what could have been lost in translation to make this look any better. I think it's just a weird move.
Here's the thing, though, and I could be remembering totally incorrectly, but I believe that the Houston Outlaws were on the Optic Gaming subreddit from the beginning.
I wouldn't have any idea, to be completely honest.
So there's
with
a few
you, if they
things,
were.
right? Because the fact that we're not like the most hardcore dudes when it comes to like following every social media channel and every little forum and message board regarding Overwatch League. But if we didn't even really like, number one, most of the team's subreddits are trash. Like they're bad. And nothing against the people who are moderating them or contributing to them. There's just so little team specific info. So I honestly, I think that this should have just been the move from the beginning, but we've been at this for 3 years now, essentially. So personally, number one, this probably is the right move, assuming that you can get NYXL and their COD team, whatever, the subliners, to like kind of coexist in a space. Sure. We've seen, especially with like Reddit filtering, there's a lot more powerful filters to where you can basically filter out any subliner stuff if you don't want any of that. But then you also get the actual like organization news and events and stuff like that. So honestly, like, as much as I think we want to rag on them for combining, I actually think it's the smart long-term play, and I don't know. I think people are overreacting.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that it is something of like taking something away from the few, right? And that the optics of that. I will say though, it is certainly interesting that this comes now, that teams are more going towards their initial orgs or their parent orgs branding, because with the CDL, they actually have some pre-existing branding in the team names with FaZe and Optic, right? And I tell you, that didn't go over well with some of the Overwatch League owners. That was not well received by some.
What do you mean?
And
like you're saying, like some of the teams didn't like that Optic got the white, black, and green of Greenwall?
No, that they are literally allowed to be called Optic, when in the Overwatch League they were not allowed to bring their branding in, right? Like for instance, Envy being the biggest brand in Overwatch, arguably in the West before the Overwatch League, was not allowed to call themselves Dallas Envy, right? Now in the CDL that is possible because they have these big brands. They're even getting some brands involved, like with FaZe. They are not even the parent org of that. They're just like, yeah, please give the name. So we have
the
that
Atlanta FaZe,
traction.
Right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah. So it's certainly interesting that this sort of rallying to the middle now starts. And we're seeing these moves.
That has to have been like a backpedal by Activision.
Feels
Blizzard
like it, yeah.
then, right? Of like, you know what? We wanted this. We wanted these new orgs, new franchises, and everything. And instead, we're like, you know what? I guess. I guess go for it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of a backpedal that really is. I mean, I don't know how much time we want to spend on it, but like, is that indicative of them having a hard time trying to sell those slots. So they had to give up more bargaining power to these teams and say, okay, we didn't allow this for the Overwatch League. Is this something that we can allow for some of these bigger teams in the Call of Duty League to help them maybe be more enticed to come in?
It could be making good on an error. I think it's just, if we're being honest, Envy was never as big for Overwatch as FaZe is for Call of Duty, right? Now, for Optic, it feels really more like an empty husk of what it once would be, because I think in many fans' eyes, especially Optic fans, that org died when Hex left it. Right, so the owner that of Optic Gaming that then was briefly involved with Outlaws as well. Like, I don't think that went over not that well as well. Hector, yeah. And
not hexagram.
I feel like, yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Wow, yeah. Of course, you need to say that.
Clarifying.
In Overwatch, yes. And yeah, it's certainly interesting that Optic was allowed to. I don't think there's much marketing power there anymore. But for FaZe, it's a huge thing. I think Atlanta FaZe is literally the biggest social media gaming brands in the world in terms of like team orgs, like orgs that have a team attached to them, in terms of like just like the social media numbers they pull, the outreach they have through their YouTubers, through their streamers. There's nothing that comes close, and it feels like they're really playing uneven fields then in the CDL. But then again, you probably can't like deny those fans. I think CDL needs every viewer it can get.
100%.
Yeah, well, and I think a big part of a big push and a big incentive to getting involved in the Overwatch League and then CDL is to be able to have like essentially two franchises that ultimately kind of feed into like this parent, and this is Box in this case, right? So you have Subliners and NYXL who feed into what's Box, and like that's, I think the idea, and I think it's noble in the sense that these organizations believe that they're gonna have fans of the organization and not the individual teams. I think there's delusion there, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think that the flip side is everything being separate. And let's be honest, if you go and look at most of the, I want to say all, I just haven't checked up on all of the Overwatch League team subreddits in a while. If you go to them, they're not especially active, and basically all they're doing is regurgitating what gets put on competitive Overwatch, but just the stuff for your team that you like, which is not that hard to find. I mean, there's only 30 to 40 posts that stay on competitive Overwatch a day anyway.
See, the thing is, what I never understand with these franchise leagues, especially that now Overwatch League and then CDL, is like, I'm sure they understand that not only this age, but especially esports is personality driven, and people flock to personalities, not necessarily teams. The biggest brands in sports, for instance, are not teams. They are Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, and they all have more reach than the clubs they represent, right? So
maybe in Europe, I know a lot of, and again, we're stupid soccer fans here, right? But like Manchester United carries a ton of weight here, whereas at the time when soccer was kind of getting and people were starting to watch Premier League and stuff like that, I couldn't tell you more than 2 or 3 players on Manchester United at the time. I'm not saying you're wrong. Yeah, providing a different perspective from us idiot Americans. So
that's the weird thing where I will say, from my perception, especially of American orgs, but also in European sports, the sort of thing that they then do is they just have a franchise player that is just like, like in Europe we have several guys that just stay with that one club and they go through thick and thin and they always get top contracts and they are beloved by the people, like a Francesco Totti was in Roma and stuff like that. I'm sure like in American sports it's pretty much the same thing, even though like sometimes of course the big ones are traded and then that is the story. But like that we are not, it doesn't seem like, or could you point to a player currently in the Overwatch League that is most definitely a franchise player for that team? Like, for instance, the best one that I could have named was Shawful.
No.
And that is also done now.
Sinatra
is a good one, yes.
Sure.
Even though he hasn't played as long as others actively, right? Like,
and again, he came in halfway through season 1, but even then, before that, right? He was Mr. 150K.
It was the idea. Yeah.
Sure,
right?
sure,
He was
I agree.
the guy, and man, did that pay off well. Now it's like, wow, 150K. I'll take that. Any team will take that deal for Sinatra right now. So there definitely were. I would say Jake is another one who you would look at, and again, right? This is I hate to be proving your point more than mine. But Jake is a player who's not even necessarily playing all that much. But he's still, if you go to like a Houston Outlaws fan page or whatever, who and you put Jake on a sign up, like have you ever been to like a convention where they do like signings and they have like 10 booths of people for an hour? You put all the Houston Outlaws guys up there. Jake's line is going to be the longest.
He's definitely the
followed by Arhan, Yiska's favorite.
Yeah.
Well, I would say there are examples, but it's not that many, right? Like Spitfire killed all of that. Like there's no affiliation between like thinking, okay, Prophet and Spitfire. That is gone. Like so many teams rebuilt from scratch almost. So often, maybe NYXL you could point to
Jonak
or Sabiolbi.
Sure.
London,
I think
you could have pointed to Prophet. Like, but I think in your Yiska, you're gonna hate this. You're gonna hate that I say this, and I totally accept that. Whether you like it or not, Overwatch League is pursuing a traditional sports model.
Yeah,
and in traditional sports, you have your teams, and like, hey, it's A-Rod. He plays for the Yankees. Doesn't matter. I hate the Yankees, but I like A-Rod. There's this aspect of you follow player talent around.
Sure.
But dude, I've gone from Minnesota to Colorado to California, and I've seen teams lose, players get lost by teams, my teams make stupid decisions. I will cheer for every Minnesota team over any other team in the entire world. Doesn't matter what player they have. That's what they're seeking. I'm not saying that it does, and I don't think that that's something that you achieve in 3 years of a online sport.
Multiple decades.
But that's what's being sought, is they want people to shift away from the short term I like a player to the long term I like a team. And I think all of us have at least some level of healthy skepticism on if that is what new franchises need and should go after, but that is most definitely what is being sold for CDL and Overwatch League. Whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I just think they could be using the cult of personality better for many of those teams. We pointed out a couple of examples, but I would have thought more would just have a baseline, like even like agilities for Valiant, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't matter whatsoever. And it's interesting to see. Not that I overly mind that. I just think it's a mistake for the goals they're trying to achieve, which is to be like brands that are like, you, for instance, the best thing you could achieve is just like, for instance, you keep Jake on fat contracts, keep him happy, and then at some point he retires. That's the optimum, right? That he starts the playing career with you and he ends it with you. You have that legacy wherever he moves. you will always, like, whatever kind of personality he comes, he will always be connected to that brand. And I think that is a potent marketing tool.
Yep. I also think that that's being a fan of the sport / esport, which I also think is a good thing. Like, Yiska, when I think about you, I feel like you're more of a fan of just Overwatch and competitive Overwatch in general than necessarily
Sure.
the
Circus,
Germany bratwurst peddlers or whatever their team would be. I don't know. That's what they would be. It's my least creative name I have.
I will say I'm a fan of, or I definitely like some of the identity that teams have carved out for themselves. I really dig the style that NYXL has gone through. Certainly I'm more attached to personalities. It's just like, for instance, Valiant. I think they have for instance, if Mike Schwartz left Valiant, I think I would think about this team very differently. That for me, he's like the cornerstone of that roster with everything they've gone through and how he has interacted with that team. And I think their moves would look very different if he wasn't there, for instance.
I would wonder what NYXL would look like if you kept all the branding the same, but you switched Florida Mayhem and New York Excelsior. We can never know, right? But what does NYXL look like from a fan base? Do people still want to wear the really cool logo? Do people really want to, like, the really cool trendy merch, the big shoes, the Nike exclusives? Do people want that when your team is going whatever?
I would say
6-22 or whatever they went. I don't even know.
Fortunately, we never have to answer these questions because they are bad in Overwatch and they're terrible in branding. So bad, actually, that they themselves wanted to change it, like, partway through season 1, which still has only been partly achieved, right? Like,
fair.
Mustard and ketchup, my boys.
Well, we've got a academy team that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's a little chicken and the egg, right? I think with all of this kind of stuff is do great players like create devotion in franchises, or do great franchises create devotion in players and people want to follow players? I think there's probably a long discussion to even be had there. We're not going to have that discussion today. All that to say is XL2 will not participate in Contenders. They're on hiatus. that was
True.
The topic that we started with.
And you already know that this is not the last academy team that it's working out for. That, like, the move to have regional talent, it was already sort of like messaging that they're not that satisfied with what their Contenders team is already achieving. I think a lot of teams, I think a lot of teams have found out that the academy teams don't do as much for them. It's kind of sad that they're flanking out now, because I think that
now is the most important.
My monitor just went out. Okay. That I think that now, for instance, if you have a 12-player roster, you're only sending 9 people maybe on the road. I don't think you will always fly 12 players to every stop, and all the coaches. So let's say you bring like 7 or 8 players, and then some of the coaches, now you have, like, 6 or 4 to 6 players just sitting there, twiddling thumbs at home.
Yep.
That is perfect for the new 4 two-way player rule that you could be using your academy team for. What I will say is we still have not figured out a ruling in which we make it so that the Contenders players from academy teams are just as attractive as unsigned talent. If it's not skill-based strictly, it is very often we don't want to pay a buyout. We will take a skill downgrade in order to not pay a buyout, and they are absolutely 100% better Overwatch players denied Overwatch League because they are behind a transfer fee, and some orgs just won't give you money at all for them, right? So the ruling there is still not stable. It's either like you either change the rules there, or you get rid of all the academies, have it all open, and then let the market dictate all the buyouts. Or you make it so that every single player has to be under contract with an organization, so the transfer fee can be raised for every single player and is going somewhere. And or like you just like, even if you'd sign free agents, I don't know, you got to pay some tax that is equal to the amount of buyouts, because currently the system is not working in anyone's favor, and
True.
It's making it's not
Fans
allowing
aren't
talent to
winning,
go in.
orgs aren't winning.
Yeah, nobody wins.
Advertisers definitely aren't winning.
Yep.
And I think you bring up a good point there with advertisers, is that, you know, to offset that kind of disparity in terms of monetary gain through trying to acquire players and sell them off to Overwatch League teams, the league could lessen the restriction on contenders in general in terms of sponsorship, in terms of these brands that want to come in and actually sponsor these teams. We saw it with World Cup that there was a lot of, you know, red tape in the way. So offsetting that to alleviate some of the player contracts that could have some sort of ripple effect, so that the league or the Overwatch League franchises don't have to have their contenders players under such high, you know, minimum requirements to buy them out. Again, I'm not entirely too well versed in contract law and whatnot, but I think that could be a slow solution. But yeah, something has to change. It's not working.
I'm still astonished that we're going to 2 days a week for Overwatch League, and we haven't seen or have announced the other 2 days being dedicated to contenders. That's what I meant. There should have been 4 days of Overwatch from the beginning, mostly the beginning of Overwatch League to the end. Should have just been a thing. Even I honestly, like, I'm totally biased. I would have gone as far as to like share airtime. Like, how great would it be instead of breaks where you just hear the thumping Lucio music and the countdown with the multicolored Overwatch League thing? How great would it be if they like peeped into a contenders game in between?
It'd be something to try.
And then you go back and you've got those. Even if you've got contenders going in tandem, like there's so much that can be improved there.
No.
We could do a series of episodes on that though, and we're not going to do that today.
Topic.
We're not going to do that today.
That's a serious topic.
We're also Overwatch did announce the Shanghai Masters, Shanghai Dragons, Hangzhou Spark, Chengdu, Guangzhou Charge. Gonna be doing a little friendly little tournament at the end of November. It's gonna be pretty pog. We're gonna talk about it more. We don't have a ton of time today. There's so much that we want to talk about today. But I mean, I think there's a reason why Joe made his bed today, and that's because his sheets aren't clean anmore after seeing that article.
I
really, Yiska? Nothing? I make an inappropriate joke on the show.
I was waiting for Joe's reaction. I was waiting for Joe's reaction. How he receives that.
God damn it.
Okay.
I honestly, like, it's cool in like a weird indirect way where it's like, okay, cool, these teams are actually like showing that we can have tournaments outside the league and have little events to put on in the off season. I just want more of this. I want, you know, let's have a Dallas Houston rivalry match in the off season. Let's have some of these, you know, fun exhibition style tournaments in certain regions to get things going in these dry spells. I think that's a good idea. It doesn't really matter to me that it's in China, and I don't know. I don't care really.
Yeah, for me it's
Volamel
just like
doesn't care about China confirmed.
Yeah,
he's over.
Maybe he'll vote for the right candidate next time. But
maybe I'll just vote.
What I will say is, give me all the Overwatch I want. I'm just like, here, give me some Overwatch. Give me some good Overwatch. It's especially for someone that doesn't really enjoy that much of the World Cup shenanigans. It's like, it's already getting like
you're that like interested in this? That kind of surprising.
No. I mean that okay. So let's say you went on a really long run through the forest.
Okay.
And then you're like, wow, this is way longer than I thought. I definitely didn't bring any drinks. And then like you're like, oh my god, I got lost. And then 6 hours later, you come home and there's like just a measly glass of water on the sink. That shit tastes good, my dude. That's basically like, because we haven't seen any Overwatch any good Overwatch for a long time, seemingly already. I take everything I can, dude.
I
Like,
guess. I mean, we
So-
had this last year, and I don't remember you like being all that like excited for the Guangzhou Charge Seoul Dynasty show match.
Oh,
like,
I don't care about the Cub. I just care about seeing some Overwatch, dude.
okay.
So-
fair enough.
You are saying that the Overwatch World Cup was not quality Overwatch.
Scratching that itch? No.
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 No quality Overwatch.
Korea
to
didn't
me
win.
yet.
What are you talking about?
Okay, there we go. I just need to make sure. Joe sold out against China. Yiska doesn't care if Korea doesn't win. That's your definitions of quality Overwatch. I don't know. So I think I'm in the middle. I'm like, yeah, cool. Give me more stuff. We should have these events planned every 2 weeks from the time that Overwatch League ends to when it begins. Spread out evenly over the franchises, so it's not like you have teams playing every week and there's no off season, of course. But if 4 Chinese teams can agree to be here and do this thing, then I have a hard time believing that, you know, we can't see more. I mean, even last year we saw the California Cup, right? With what was it, Valiant in San Francisco? I was there.
LA
I should know.
Gladiators just chilling out.
I know.
Not
Poor
invited.
Gladiators.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. So, but I was there for that, and I couldn't see a dang thing. I was at the venue, couldn't see a dang thing, but it was still fun to be around. And
Are there no preseason cups in American sports?
Couldn't tell you.
preseason anything in American sports, not
Jesus
happening.
Christ.
We cut, like, we're cutting preseason games to add more regular season games.
I mean, that I wouldn't mind that if the off season was just
so we're just
shorter.
like, right now, preseason stuff, all-star stuff, Pro Bowl stuff, whatever. Largely a giant waffle.
Yeah. I would say, like, Overwatch League teams are already starting to practice very soon, or already have for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be too terrible for them to mix in like a weekend event, but just like, you know, the good old IEMs or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that would certainly fill the preseason. At least in Germany, we have like something that's called the League Cup before the league starts. That was always, you know, like a nice. Nobody really super cares, but it's a nice
It's like an
primer for the
intro.
season. Yeah, because you kind of
Better
say,
than
okay, if
nothing.
the team that wins this cup is not unlikely to do well in the season.
maybe. Sure.
And then also the fun thing is some of the teams actually used to play indoor football with some of their professionals, even though nowadays they tuned it down because there was so much injuries. But that was also like I remember when I was a football fan, like I basically watched it every weekend. I remember being very upset when there was no football on, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't even mind like a preseason, like you're saying, like a preseason tournament just to get, you know, it out there. I think it would do way better than 2019's preseason, where it was just like, yeah, the teams are going to scrim on stage, guys. It's going to be super cool. You get to watch your team practice. Whoever decided to greenlight that idea and actually believes that these teams were going to showcase practice in front of their rivals and competitors on stage in front of a crowd was sorely mistaken. But having an actual tournament with maybe something, you know, up for grabs, nothing super serious, but allowing them to come out and participate and try if you want to, and if you don't, then, you know, showcase some of your players, you know, more interesting hero picks, and you know, let them enjoy it. Doesn't have to be super serious.
You can incentivize it to a level to make it look like they're not throwing.
Sure, exactly.
And I don't think it takes that much to do that.
No.
But
Not
on the
at
flip side, you can't be like, now play the best you can, otherwise, and show all your strategies. Otherwise, Nate Nans are knocking down on your door. I'm
You could-
real disappointed in you, sons.
You could do so much nice stuff if you were just creative with these solutions. Like you could, for instance, have an Atlantic Cup and like a Pacific Cup, and it's played in the preseason, and then the winner gets like their emblem on the trophy of the
Sure.
Overwatch League at the end. Something like this, right?
I don't even know if I'd even tie it with that, but maybe have like a rivalry match at All Stars, and there's a separate cup where you put your emblem on this separate, call it whatever you want. Have that cup, but just kind of separate it so it's not like, oh well, I want an incentive, I want these players to. It seems messy to kind of tie the two things together, but keep them separate and just make it kind of fun and interesting and maybe even change up the rule set. Who knows? Like let it just be its own thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
But just
Map
have
selection
it.
would be dope. Like
Sure,
teams
just let
being allowed
completely
to map
throw out the format, single elimination, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just let them have fun with it. And,
Hey,
and
Biotab.
have some competition.
Biotab, remember that time when the LA Valiant defeated the San Francisco Shock 3-1 in Santa Ana for the Cali Cup? I'm just saying. Just saying. It's not always a landslide. Like it's a funny joke now, but let's go. Know your results. Sorry. That made me angry. Shanghai Masters. We're not going to talk about prize pools this week. We're going to talk about the Overwatch League 2020 prize pools. But there's plenty of time to do that. But I do want to talk about strength of schedule a little bit because this was something pretty interesting Eric kind of brought to our attention, and I want to talk about it a little bit. So we've got a nice little spreadsheet here demonstrating strength of schedule, and for some reason this isn't refreshing, so I'm going to refresh it. But
yeah, I mean, we definitely have to make some caveats about strength of schedule, meaning that they are probably predicated on the prior information that we have. What else would you go on? Eric doesn't have a time machine and is giving us like what the teams will look like at the end of season 3. And then I suppose you're also bringing up with that the graphic of the travel miles. That is, of course, assuming that teams will stay or will have their home base in their respective regions. I can already tell you some teams won't be doing that, especially the European teams. I strongly think that they will probably be somewhere on the East Coast. I think Washington would be a good location just because they have 5 home stands around the city anyway, and the travel from there is not that terrible. I'm not sure about housing prices and whatnot. That certainly would have to be calculated as well. You probably want to be sort of local to other teams in order to make scrimming possible, just with time zones as well as ping issues. So it's very. I would be shocked if London and Paris actually scrim from Europe. I think that would be season ending.
Just wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't say season ending, but it just logistically wouldn't make sense. You have to go get players that already have P1 visas, if I'm even using that term correctly, in the United States to get the equivalent in Europe. Move the team to Europe, find housing in Europe. And then obviously practice schedules wouldn't line up. Ideally, so it logistically just doesn't make sense. But I would agree. It's pretty surprising if anybody actually goes ahead and actually does that.
Let's take a look at some of the teams that do stand out. And I think we'll focus on just like the first 9 weeks because that's for the mid-season tournament.
Sure.
And one of the teams that really kind of stood out as being pretty interesting is Washington Justice, right? So Yiska said before the show, he goes, I could walk how far Washington Justice have to travel in season 3. And he's not wrong. They also have a strong strength of schedule in the first 9, right? I mean, they're looking at playing Philadelphia, Houston, Paris, London, Boston, New York, Toronto, Philadelphia, Florida. I think that's 9. So big things. I mean, Florida, Paris, Boston. Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So really interesting to look how a Washington team could actually do quite well. And they have 4 homestands on the back end.
Yeah.
So
I would say at some point we will have a special episode about infrastructure of teams and just like infrastructural setup. I can already tell you there's one team in the Overwatch League that blew me away with their infrastructural setup, where it was like I was thinking like, okay, this would be dope if we had this in 5 years. And they're like, nah, 2020, bro. Like, that shit is litty.
what?
And yeah, at some point we will have that talk. But
Jesus.
certainly that will be a super sick, just like situation to talk about, just to compare, because I think it will be very important in terms of how the experiences for your team, the experiences for other teams at your places,
For sure.
and that will be very important towards the upcoming years. I would even say, like we know, for instance, with Philly, like they are building their own arena. I don't think that's finished next year, but like stuff like this, then just like travel accommodations, what are the practice environments like for all these teams? I think this will be so big as a thing where I could realistically see, because I think Valiant managerially are doing so much correct. I could easily see them being carried by that to a mid-season, to a play-in spot, if they were the ones to nail it all down and others to completely fail, right? I could totally see that mattering more than relative talent of the roster.
I guess that's fair. I think a lot of strength of schedule discussion tends to come from traditional sports, and I do see the value of it within, especially 2020, because it is such a watershed moment for Overwatch esports in general. Like, this technically could be the first year that Overwatch League exists, because it kind of is finally realizing what it wanted to be in the first place. Last night I talked with a couple people on another podcast, and really it was like an alpha and a beta, and now we're finally getting like a release of Overwatch League, the game, right? And travel is definitely going to play a role, but when we look at esports in general, and this is something that you kind of really opened my eyes to, and I was highly skeptical of it, but upon further investigation to other esports, it is very short term if you want to win. Most of the time, your roster long term doesn't necessarily correlate to being successful, right? If you have a long term roster, it's not how you can progress that roster and grow these players. That doesn't necessarily always indicate success in titles won. So strength of schedule for me really is about the travel, rather than like, okay, well, we think Atlanta's good, we think Washington's bad,
sure.
We think Boston's bad, we think Florida's bad. That constantly is changing. We look at like League of Legends, right? The world, League of Legends world finalist winner, FPX, this team from China that nobody had expected, most people didn't even predict to win the finals, didn't exist a couple years ago, right? And now they're world's winner.
Yeah.
And a title holder. It doesn't make sense in terms of a strength of schedule argument. But with franchise leagues that are going to be geolocated and travel around the world, travel's definitely going to play a role in that. But I wonder, and this is going to be a fun experiment to see with the Overwatch, like how much is it going to matter? How much is it going to matter versus relative strength of a roster on a patch and at any given moment? So
really glad you said that.
It's going to be cool,
because I do believe, I think I am probably on the far end of the spectrum in thinking that comparative travel distance are going to have very little effect overall in the fact that teams are just traveling, period.
Yeah. I mean, travel distance is probably not the most important metric. It's just like travel circumstances.
Sure.
What is your, like, how much practice can you get on the road? And that might, like if you have good management or just also very good partners in your schedule, like you might have way better practice than a team that doesn't have to practice nearly as much, travel nearly as much, just because they have bad environments. And I can tell you, the environments already at the homestands were not that great, with the exception, I think, of the last one. Obviously, wasn't the same arena, but was pretty close to everyone. But like from the machines that they were playing on, to the monitors, to the desks, to it maybe wasn't as bad as World Cup, but it was pretty close.
Yeah, I think homestands in almost all cases should be seen as probably a +1 to the fanfares you'd expect for a normal homestand, but a -1 for like amenities and that type of thing. Like I think that the teams definitely tried to hype up more we're one of 4 people who get to do this year. And so we're going to make it fanfares and have games and bands and, events and make a thing of it. Where I'm not saying they won't do that in the future, but like there was a little bit of an afterthought of like, whatever, dudes, fly to Dallas, suck it up. And, whatever.
Hope you can find practice, like I'm still convinced that we're going to see like a post on competitive Overwatch of somebody going to their local LAN cafe in let's say, pick a random city and like, oh, wow, the team's here. It's crazy. Like they say they're practicing. Wow, that's super cool. Like there's amongst the local crowd. And it's like, is that really what?
Don't hosting teams have to provide practice facilities for visiting teams?
I would assume, but I don't know.
I don't know if that's in their transitionary season documents, but I know that long term, the idea was that the venues actually need to hold practice.
All the teams, sure.
Need to hold practice areas for the home team and visiting teams. Edison confirmed, by the way, for Atlanta Pog. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yep.
But yeah. I don't know. I think there's a lot more we could discuss with strength of schedule, but now I kind of want to hold off and find out where some of these European teams are playing. At least. Yeah. But there's also I don't even know what patch we're playing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know what some of the rosters are looking like, and I think that again probably indicates more of the strength of schedule rather than a point that you brought up, very astutely. Like there is a diminishing return on how much you're traveling versus just you traveling. You traveling is added stress, period. But how long you're traveling, I'm sure there's some sort of break point where it's like there's really not much difference traveling 4 to 5 hours or 3 to 6 hours, right? If you're doing a 12-hour travel, yeah, of course that's going to kill you, but I don't know if necessarily anybody's going to be doing that kind of trip. So.
Sure.
The one thing that I hear that we don't have to worry about is Overwatch 2 just like appearing in our season. From what I'm hearing, it's very unlikely to be released before December 2020, just because like we also have to sort of eye that the new console generation is coming out, right? And I don't think that we have like we can expect that to run Overwatch 2 and for them to hold out. I don't think they want to release it on the other platforms, so it would probably either be December 2020 or even May 2021.
I think that's the best news I've heard all week, to be completely honest. If there's very little reason to believe that this isn't going to just intrude in the midseason and just be like, hey guys, we're going to move titles. Not that matters, but we're moving and here are these heroes.
Happen. No. We had that confirmed at BlizzCon that all of 2020
Thank
Overwatch
God.
League was going to play on Overwatch 1.
Fabulous.
Here's the big concern though, why I'm optimistic and I believe in the good Lord Jeff Kaplan and co. that they'll do right by this, but I just hope that the team isn't so focused on getting Overwatch 2 out that they all of a sudden like ignore balance and content for Overwatch 1.
Yeah, for a bad time, my dude.
I don't know.
You get one hero until then is what I'm hearing.
Even then, hero, like do we need more heroes if we just see more aggressive balance changes?
I think that's
No,
one way of balancing, right? You can add more tools or you can rework the tools.
Yes, you can rework the two. Exactly. Like, for instance, we just have certain heroes that aren't in the active hero pool.
Yeah.
By making them relevant, it sort of feels like, for instance, just imagine Soldier becoming good again. That is a new hero then.
Yeah.
Right?
Give me Harry Hook right now. Let's go. But yeah, so I mean, and that's where I'm at. Like, even then, like, how you're probably sick of seeing it but now, but I'm like, oh, cool. Bastion is a playable hero.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how long has it been since we've seen Bastion do anything but meme? You know, we saw Symmetra for a few weeks. We saw, like, there's ways that I think that you can still make Overwatch fun to play, rotate those heroes in a fun and interesting way without introducing new heroes. Obviously, I think more heroes are a little bit more fun unless they're doing like major reworks to heroes and essentially like Symmetra's been through like 3 major reworks, right? We're like, have you guys seen some like classic footage of Symmetra like right when the game launched?
I mean, yeah.
What was it?
Symmetra is
6
completely
turrets?
different.
It was, yeah.
You give permanent shielding to an ally. You have a projected ultimate that gives shields in an area that somebody has to hunt down and kill. Like, and that's the weird thing too. That's a whole another point, is that now we have a completely different game we're playing. We're playing with roll lock enabled. So now we can actually go back and look at that and say, well, was that imbalanced now? Like, if we apply that to this side of the game, how does that work? And I think that now that we finally have like a stable point to kind of balance from, I think Blizzard, I feel like there's room to go back and take a look at some of those old patches and say, hey, maybe this was the better choice for Rollock and revert it.
Bring back the full Bastion shield.
No, okay. Well, let's.
I get it. I get what you're saying. You want more Bastion shields. Got it. Just immunity.
I kind of like this concept of this hero that they scratched going along Overwatch, where there's like a robot ninja that throws these ninja stars and can reflect enemy ultimates. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
I think his name's like Ganji or something.
Ganja, yeah.
Yeah, he wears a hoodie. He's going to be out in Overwatch 2.
Oh, really? Streetwear or something? Is it like the fashion guy?
Hero in Overwatch 2. There's some concept image, I think, in the past, some concept videos. I think we saw him in a cinematic, and then we just like never saw him.
Was he the guy that was like yelling the things? And
we never saw him. No, that was Hanzo. We never really saw him, and then at BlizzCon this year they showed us the guy
I must have missed it.
Again.
That's I completely just missed him there. That was weird.
Yeah. And I would love to see him with his buddy. There's this big ape that has this projected barrier, and he can jump on targets.
Whoa! Did you say shielding? I don't think we need more shields, buddy.
Yeah,
you need.
It's a very short shield. We're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, Sigma has a short shield though. I don't know if more shielding is what we need. I don't think we need some weird monkey hero that drops a shield or something. I don't know if we need that in current year.
I think that's what Hammond is supposed to be.
True. That's very true.
Leaks.
Didn't necessarily work out. I did it.
Leaks.
Well, I mean, I guess. But
all right.
Genji, Hammond, Winston meta. Yes, please. All into my eyeballs.
Hammond wins. To be fair, Hammond's not necessarily out of meta, right? Stalling
I would say like one of those like fringe picks.
Well, it's kind of like what May used to be. Remember back in the old days where you just run May, Diva, and just like stall out points forever. Remember those days? Yeah. You'd run May, Diva, Tracer,
Anubis B.
Yeah,
everybody stalls out till overtime.
Hanamura was awful.
Yeah, that one was bad too.
Anyways, this flashback brought to you by patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. If you don't want us to talk about it anymore, you can have a say by
I think they want to talk. I would imagine that was great content, and people want us to talk about that more.
I thought, I had fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the roster moves. And there's a lot of roster moves, and even then, as the show goes on, we tried to delay the show a few hours, and we just like they just moved back the announcements to when we were doing it. Whereas if we were doing the show at our normal time, we wouldn't have gotten any of these leaks. So still processing. A lot of moves last week, though. If you're keeping track at home, let's just take a look at how many moves happened this last week. Since the 7th, we're looking at 36. No, sorry, 30 something. 30. We're gonna say 31. 31.
Kind of an offset question with just a general postseason in esports. Would it be incorrect to say that fans are like doubled down in terms of like crazy postseason moves because of how exciting it is? And it's like, oh, is my team going to stay the same? Oh, they didn't. Oh, they did. Like, do you feel like the fans in general have like bought into teams or players a little bit more once they've survived more and more postseason as fans? Does that make sense?
No and get out. Just kidding.
I wonder if that actually happens. I see it a good amount in like League of Legends where it's just like super interesting for them. Like everything's changing. With Overwatch, it's kind of hard to see the excitement or just like the involvement of the community in like the changes. I think for Overwatch we have our own like offshoot problems with off-season changes, but I wonder if there's like a correlation in terms of involvement as a fan the more you've survived an off season and the more interest you show in it because of how kind of reinvigorated you are with whatever, even though it's just an emotional trigger, right? Like either if it's good or if it's bad, like it makes you feel something about the league or the game. And I don't know if that there's anything there about that, but yeah, just a weird offshoot question.
Philosopher Joe. We should do a segment called Philosopher Joe.
Trust me, they don't come often. I don't even know if that one was coherent. So,
I mean, I didn't follow, but
that's fair.
Usually, it's because I'm an idiot. So we just kind of. So there's a few questions. Keep in mind that these spreadsheets are pretty much updated within a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if something has changed in the last 2 hours, like I don't think we have Edison is confirmed, Mirror is confirmed, but I'm also hosting the show. I can't do it all. Okay, can't do it all.
Fair enough.
So we're gonna go in order. This isn't in the order of most exciting. This is just kind of in the order that we had set, and then of course we'll discuss hopefully everything. Shanghai Dragons re-sign DM, Gaguri, Luffy, Ding. Just kidding, Joe. Ding and Dia release Coma. How you feel, Joe?
Dia makes sense. Gaguri, I don't know. I hope that they actually use her. If not, then it kind of feels bad. I don't know. She's very much like tied to their brand. But I would like to see her play if they can find like a space for her. If not, then it just feels kind of like why, I don't know. Like it just feels weird to me. Like I'm all about like get the females in there and let them play and all that, but just feels kind of bad to just see her just sit on the bench and just kind of be a poster girl. It just feels not very good. Luffy makes sense. Ding makes sense. Dia, I think it's done a two-way. It's fine. Coma is a little. I was never super high on. Going even back to KDP. Yeah, I don't know. Not super jazzed about, but I guess it depends on the replacement.
Do you like Li Zhigong? So the prevailing rumor is Li Zhigong on that main support role. Is that making you feel better?
Yeah. I think Li Zhigong's very, very solid. I wonder how much difference there'll be just in terms of a backline, because obviously Luffy and Coma have played together for a considerable amount of time. I don't know if there will be any kind of synergy issues. I can't imagine that those two roles in a vacuum have too much to. I mean, obviously they have a lot to do with each other, but do you need synergy to be successful Do you need to be a pair if that makes sense? I think Lee Jae-gon, I would take that over. Yeah, I would say that that's a good addition. In general.
Kind of makes me scared for what Florida will eventually end up with in terms of roster.
Can I just put something out there that is based I don't even know if it's based in reality.
Okay.
Sure.
Imagine if they sign Fate to that main tank role, and then they bring in Hotba for that off tank role.
Yeah, I think it's solid. You've got a lot of parity.
They have 2 off tanks.
Yeah, Envy and Giguri, technically.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking about Florida Mayhem.
Oh, you mean Florida? Oh,
because you said you just said Florida Mayhem, right? I didn't black out. Did I just black out? Am I dead?
No.
Am I good?
Am I here? Went back to
okay.
Shanghai. Yeah. Okay.
No. Yeah, we're on Florida Mayhem for a second. You talked about Florida Mayhem, so you've got Fate rumored as main tank, but you have Karayan and Gargoyle as main and off right now. But if Fate joins, could you imagine Fate and Hotba?
That's a good question, right? Like, I was never a fan of Hotba. I'm going to tell you that right now. Even if he had, a little bit of a renaissance in season 2, I would say.
I think he's one of those flex tank players that lost a lot with Rollock because he was a little bit more flexible in terms of roles.
So rumor is he can stay or leave Guangzhou. That's the rumor.
Nice.
So it's kind of up to him.
Nice. Super position. Yeah. I don't know. It's just I am not that high on him as a player. I think they're better flex tanks.
All right, fine.
Then again, I would also
bringing up
at this point
ever again.
No, like
I'm just kidding.
The thing is, I still stand by. There's enough Western talent still available on the market that you could make a better hybrid team than an only Korean team. But they have already said that they don't have the capabilities to handle a roster like that.
There's no way Florida is gonna they've got 7 Korean players on their squad.
Yeah,
I think it was just more in general.
Yeah.
Quit peddling your propaganda, Yiska.
He's sneaking in those mixed roster biases.
Do you want me to link it in the show notes? I'll link your article in the show notes.
No, it's I still think, like, if you think about the agents that are available, especially on the off tank role, I think the Westerns are just better than the Korean counterparts right now.
Because of the World Cup results, right?
Correct. Only because of that.
Which shifted the power. I get it.
So yeah. But we'll see.
Sorry, we're back to Shanghai though. Any other thoughts? I mean, the big thing here right now is rumored Stand 1 from Legion is going to be the main tank for that group. And if that rumor is not true, they don't have a main tank right now.
Yeah.
I like, if we're gonna speculate on that rumor, it doesn't feel too much. Like, it doesn't feel like that much more of an upgrade over Gamsu. If anything, I kind of worry about if there is a veteran presence, if there is kind of a leader in that team. I don't know. It's tough to say. Yeah, it's something about Fleta doesn't make me doesn't instill faith, and something about him doesn't scream vocal leader within a team.
Yeah. It's also, man, I was so hyped for Shanghai. Like, they looked like they were getting there, right? And now it's like they re-signed both of their off tanks.
Sure.
Resident Sleeper, like, they're letting Koma go. I think he would have been great as a second support behind Lee Jae-gon. They definitely needed an upgrade.
They can only have 12 players, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, they've got space.
Geguri, but goodbye, Envy.
Because they've already got 5 DPS players, and then putting in 4 support players means you've got 3 left for tank. You've already got Geguri and Envy.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't have resigned them. I
You
would
would have resigned Envy?
No.
Probably not. No.
No.
At least if the Void rumor prevails.
Yeah,
Or
that is
or even if
there's
it
no
does-
way, right?
Or even if it does. So what if Void is not true? If it's not true that Void is going to Shanghai.
How could it be true? How could it be true at this point? Are they going to have 3 off tanks?
I'm not here to coach a team. I'm here to host a podcast, okay?
That would, I don't know, that would almost certainly mean some of them are switching roles, and that is even more of a bong hit than what they're already doing. So,
Ooh, so what is the word? Like, when was the last time we heard about Void? I'm going to find out for you right now. Shut up, chat. Sit down and shut up.
but man, like DM, Ding,
This is
Fleta,
from
DPS.
OW Beacon on November 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
by the
and
way.
they've-
So, if anybody's watching on the video, I know cameras and video and stuff like that is a little bit weird. You'll get over it though. Just listen to it on audio. It'll sound great. Just do it. It's a podcast, not a
Yeah.
vodcast.
It's true.
Unless you're on Twitch, hey, subscribe here.
I think, honestly, if you think about it, right, the substance was all there. Like, Legion gone rumored.
Sure.
You get a better flex support. I don't care about Izayaki that much.
No.
Neither Luffy. You have 3 sweet DPS. Maybe you even get you have the Jesus Christ. Yeah, this guy goes down fully
Diaz-
to contenders.
Yeah, D is 2-way, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's no longer to way in my fantasy. You know, not allowed in my dreams.
He's contenders player basically. Yeah.
And
I mean, I think the 3
you get-
that they have are fine. You want a 4th? Is that what you're leading into? You want like
Yeah,
a 4th
probably.
DPS?
yeah.
Really? What are you concerned about?
Well, mainly I would. So far, it's kind of hard to predict, but Ding is very niche. I feel like, and Fleta is not 100% like pop off.
Sure.
I'm much more confident in DM.
who is 100% pop off, by the way?
DM.
Okay.
Okay. I think he will at least have one more great season.
Mhm.
The way he has developed. If you could have gotten another DPS just to seal that one off, maybe a great DPS like now Glisters on Spitfire. Now we're further more dispersed. It's like we're spreading the Dragon Balls all over the fucking planet again. Like, come on,
but that's
man.
the problem is if you collect them all, I don't think the team works. You gotta have them. You gotta spread them out. I don't
we
know.
had our Korean super team. It was season 1 London Spitfire.
See, like it would be so amazing to just like 7 Dragon Balls and then just like have Tia on the contenders team. Just be Xiao Zhu there. Go away. Nobody cares. Like,
I need to watch Dragon Ball.
oh Jesus Christ, he didn't have a childhood.
I didn't. My parents loved me, made me go outside, play sports.
This guy actually was born 10 years old.
I don't watch my first anime until I was 22, okay?
Jesus Christ. Nice. Are you okay, Joe?
Yeah, I'm just trying not to spit my water everywhere on camera.
Jeez. All right, you guys are jerks.
It's just funny.
Let's talk about the Fissure rumors. Fissure rumored to be going to the Vancouver Titans.
It's like
Bro.
it makes sense to me that this would somehow be the play that Vancouver wants to do. They're like,
Bro.
you know who's sick? You remember that guy who retired because of reasons and you disregard his past and the things that happened. Wouldn't it be dope to just throw some cash at him and just put him in our team? Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to say the same thing I said to Soul. I think this is dumb. It doesn't matter. I think in general, if you've got a foot out the door, then your head's not completely in it. I just don't think this is smart at all.
Here's the idea, right? Can Fissure stop with his menstrual pause till Mac comes online, if they're actually getting Mac? And then that's actually a good move, right? Can he make it 3/4 through the season? Or will he flank on another team? How is this kid getting contracts? Like, come on, man.
Because
How
he's
many
a
more
good
teams
player.
Then you have to build a team around
half the
him.
time.
You can't just plug him in.
You know why he's getting a contract, though. That's such a bad
we
question.
just don't
to ask.
agree with it.
He's a good player. And when he's played well, he's played probably
Very
above
well.
the best main tanks in the entire Overwatch League. Tell me I'm wrong.
Above?
See, and
At
not
or above?
above.
At or above?
I wouldn't say it.
Like, the problem is, in aggregate, is someone that pops up 3/4 of the season and then leaves you out when it matters the most is not something that inspires confidence in me.
No.
Like, I agree. But I don't know what do you think you have figured out that teams like Seoul, especially Seoul, and Gladiators and Spitfire. Dude, this guy is just like, there was a baller Reddit comment, by the way, about this. It's just like, Fissure, the reason Fissure makes so many moves is because whenever his Fanatics shirt starts peeling, he's just like, oh, that
I need a new one.
Let's switch. Let's switch teams.
That's pretty
good.
smart.
That's actually a really good first time I've ever applauded a Reddit comment. That's nice. But besides that fact, at the same time, like, for Fissure to come out, there had to have been a conversation that say, this is your last chance, dude. You want to go out and retire on this shit? Then fine. Don't come back here. But if you want to play on the big stage, we're giving you a shot as the main tank on the second place team, Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that
same
conversation
talk.
could not have gone any other way than, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll do my best, sir. Here's
about that.
the name of my firstborn child, sir. Here is where they will be born. Here is where I will be 24/7. Thank you, sir. I'm excited to play for you, sir. Let's go.
Reality. Oh, yeah, by the way, Halo Thoughts. Here's the team. Here are the players that all the Overwatch League teams are signing. Let me say it on stream as well. 222 coming. 222 coming. Come on, man. This guy is a leaker, is toxic, and doesn't make it through a season. This guy should not be getting another contract.
Yeah.
Unless,
I think there was there's too much faith put into these players that and these orgs for that talk to go that way. I don't trust that in the slightest.
So you don't think Fissure's going to Vancouver?
No.
I mean, it very well could be that he's going to
yeah.
Vancouver. I just think it's dumb.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I said the same thing with Seoul. I'm like, you better have a backup.
Well,
Or you better have a ton of faith in this system is going to work. I think Fissure could come back and find success if you build a team around him. He is not somebody you can just plug into some other system and just expect things to go swimmingly. The second they start losing, things are going to start to pop off.
Dude,
just like they always have.
Here's the trick, though, Joe. Don't lose.
What's that?
Just don't lose.
Forehead, that's a big brain play.
Make a team that doesn't lose. Who knows what the San Francisco Shock would be like if they started losing?
Suppose.
I would have taken Alpha any day over the prospects of Fissure, for instance.
I'm afraid that people are going to mistake the comments I've made in the last 10 to 15 minutes as an advocate for Fissure on the Vancouver Titans. So let me take a brief moment to educate you on the point of a exciting, invigorating podcast. Differentiating views. Do you know how often we talk about things on the show and bring up other ideas that we don't necessarily personally agree with?
Mm-hmm.
Think about
I think
that.
you're breaking the fourth wall here a little bit.
Think about that before you start
Blowing my
typing in
mind.
YouTube, you chubby cheek, blonde hair, brown. Oh, that's me. Never mind. I was just describing me for a second.
Oh
Jesus. But anyways, we're here. All right. Anyways, I don't know. So for me, like I cannot believe, if this rumor is true, I cannot believe that either the lowest contract ever, on top of the biggest "yes sir, I'm sorry sir" conversation ever, makes this true.
Yeah.
Besides, like it or not, Bumper is not an Overwatch League caliber main tank.
As fanboy triggering as it is, apparently.
Whatever that is.
I'm going to drop kick the next person that says that Brumper was in the top 5 tank in Overwatch League in season 2. Just drop him.
Tank, overall tank, or main tank?
Main tank.
Wow, way to backpedal. There it is, Yiska, the backpedaler.
No, I wanted to say main tank. I don't know if.
No,
I
I'm
think
just kidding.
that is very clearly the case. And this bumper feeding idea is a bit overplayed. I don't think that held up.
The power of a copy pasta, man. It's just the power of a copy pasta.
That's the hilarity of internet memes, right? Like, it starts out as a meme, and everyone is in on the joke, and then it spreads, and then even the guys that were in on the joke are not so sure anymore that it is a joke because it's repeated so often, and then it becomes gospel.
I
It's
feel
like-
personally attacked by your statement. I expect a public, formal apology. Similar to what Fisher had to do to get on this squad.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
He said on Reddit
Sorry,
and
sir.
actually made those memes. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Okay. So Fisher, we talked about it. Mirror confirmed for Gladiators. So that's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Paintbrush still rumored, not confirmed yet. But how are we looking here? So you've got Birdring and Mirror as your DPS duo, OGE and Space as your DPS duo, Big Goose and Shaz as your support duo.
That's actually worse than that last season. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Based on which positions?
DPS.
Probably DPS.
Support line remained the same, right?
Support line remains the same. OGE feels like, I don't know, fine.
That's another big question mark for me.
So-
It's not quite Fisher, but yeah, that's a big one.
I
And
think you
I'll
guys.
tell you,
I don't know if you're being purposefully low on Mirror or not, but come on, I don't know.
I will say, okay, wow, this is baiting a Reddit clip. Just on clip, I would be very surprised if this kid isn't banned for a couple of games.
Interesting.
Like, I'm sure people
Mirror.
have scrims, screenshots and things that that happened. It's not like, okay. Let me say this. I don't know anything about boosting. That is not the insinuation I'm making here, right?
No.
It's I would be very surprised, and I will also say, whoever is doing those checkups didn't do their job correctly in that case.
Well, a lot of these are still pending league approval, right? Do you think this is the first player that gets a little bit more time looked at in terms of their league application?
Like, I maybe I will also say, I don't know if I'm even saying anything new here. I think that's fairly widely known that, like, just think through the team history that this player has had and what kind of scandals he was involved in, and I'm still flabbergasted by what the players got away with. And if you go down that road, I think you will arrive very clearly at a place where that is all public knowledge already, and nobody seems to be able either aware or talking about it.
Even that in that sense, like I've heard good things about Azaria. I haven't, seen this kid play much in the way of, different heroes. So, to bring it back on course, pairing him up with Birdring doesn't instill me with a lot of faith that it did with Surefour.
I feel like the success of this team correlates so strongly to how well Birdring performs that I'm going to drop kick somebody.
Why trust a player who basically just reportedly or rumored to, just completely bail on a playoff caliber team that looked like they were going to do good? Is it the team? Is it him? I don't know. But are you really going to put your faith in that? I would hope that there's another signing coming.
I'm definitely not putting my faith in the coaching staff of the London Spitfire to be able to keep a player like Birdring and his mindset, and we'll just say it, his attitude to keep that in check.
Sure.
But I do know of a man named Deepay with a very broad shoulder and a very strong rumor to run a tight ship. To if somebody's going to reel him in, he might be one of the few in Overwatch League who's just
possibly. I certainly hope so, because if that's the play, then I hope you can do something that these other teams haven't, because it does not. Yeah, not my favorite team. We'll put it like that.
I would do a Lord bet around Birdring if we could somehow quantify it. Yeah, I think I would.
You set up the things, and we'll have to decide on what the basis is.
All right,
it's all in the details.
Fair enough. We'll see. All right, we're not doing that now, though. I don't know. We'll have to think.
We'll have to think on where we want to place Gladiators before the Devil signs the contract.
Yiska, this one's just for you and only for you.
Okay, here we go.
The Seoul Dynasty have signed the biggest brain in competitive Overwatch, Wizard Young, to a strategic coach position.
Yeah.
Is this the best move that we've seen in Overwatch League this year, or the best move we've seen in Overwatch League of all years?
Another drop kick to the chest. It is.
I don't know how much more softball you could underhand that one, John.
So,
or is this the
I don't
be a coach
here's the thing. Like, it's at the point where I don't know if I want to say too much, because I definitely want to be super 100% sure on the things that I want to say.
Sure.
So just won't for the time being.
But what if you did? What would that statement be?
I will say, in general, the moves that Soul made. Why did you lie to me, man? Like, why did they have to lie to me, man? So when Prophet and Gesture was signed, I said on Twitter, nobody else is it would be a shame if great talent went to waste. This, you definitely need more signings that back this up, and the Soul Dynasty GM just responded with me and saying yes, it would be a shame if we wasted that talent. And then you do that, dude. Come on. Really? And then you get those signings, and then you don't keep Glister seemingly.
Are you saying the signing of Wizard Young makes the players worse? Is that what you're saying?
Worse, it definitely decreases the potential that the players could have in comparison to other strategical coaches in the scene. Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Doesn't make them inherently worse, but it certainly doesn't make them necessarily better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Dude,
you're taking a head coach that, again, it's very tough to evaluate, especially a first year of coaching, but not a ton of positive track record past that. A coach that failed to form a team to participate in the meta. Granted, we didn't know how long GOAT's meta was going to last, right? We didn't know how long 3-3 was going to, maintain an Overwatch League. I get that. You couldn't adapt your team that you built to be successful until the very end. I don't think that necessarily spells out success. It doesn't have success written all over it. So to see him kind of move laterally, almost to kind of like take I wouldn't even know if it's a pay grade drop, but going from a head coach to a strategic coach obviously is a hierarchical thing. But even then, I wonder if that actually means anything. I really wonder why. What, like, maybe there's more to this. I have no idea. It just does not make much sense.
Period. Like, with all this time, he also didn't convince me that he can even teach strategy or tactics. Like, if you just look at someone like, for instance, okay, let's say this. How is it possible that you're a strategical genius and have Corey, a talented player like him, be so terrible at his role for the longest time, and then when you're no longer involved,
role star Corey, by the way, the role star amazing. Corey.
Oh my God, that's another thing.
Sorry, okay, I had to mean. Sorry.
So
you can tell I just make Yiska mad sometimes.
Just gotta poke the bear.
I don't understand. Like,
no, it doesn't make sense at all.
Also, please don't say he was the reason why they popped off in stage 4. Zero reason to say that. Zero reason to say that. And man, I'm seething at this. Like, I'm really, really disappointed. Not just in that move, but overall, the way that Seoul has steered so far. I mean, there's certainly signings that could up it but I think they're overall, like, where I had them in my mind and where their basis was laid, I was so much higher, and I don't think they will be. I don't think it's likely at this point, just from their projection now, to be better than they were last season.
No. Yeah, I think you've lost. I think it depends on what kind of supports they're going to go forward with. But I don't think it just can be profit and gesture running, the ship. I don't think two players can have that much impact on that. And I still have to have I still question, exactly how or how much MMA, the strategic, or not the strategic coach, but the assistant coach, former head coach of Gen G, moving into this. Like, he has esports experience coming from like a StarCraft background, but I don't know if a couple seasons of Contenders really prepares you for the Overwatch League. I do kind of question that. Then signing Wizard, like, at the base, I'm not as mad about this as Yiska is, but I definitely am not happy about it. I question and worry in general with his track record, but I do hold on to some sort of hope that, if he is more, data driven, maybe this is a better fit for him. I'm willing to give, a second chance, but I seriously don't expect this to do much in the way of being successful. But coaching is still pretty difficult to wrap your head around. It's pretty nuanced and a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So it's tough to say, but all we can see is track record for the most part.
Yeah,
not a ton of experience beforehand, and then you had the Washington Justice in season 2. So I will say, be positive.
Even from the surface, if you look at his pre-Overwatch League record, if you look at NYXL after his departure, and if you look at Washington Justice, I think his track record is also pointing in the direction that he either should never be a head coach, or that he's just not that good as we might have thought at one point.
Sure.
Certainly possible that people improve. Certainly possible that people's ego gets checked. But yeah, I'll hold out. Once again, judgment. Feel like I repeated this. I was already so sure before last season, but yeah, this is a very strange one for me.
Yeah.
Also question if anyone at Seoul reached out to other organizations beforehand. But yeah, that's a strange one, and I don't know. Friendship with Seoul ended. Like, that was really disappointing. Oh man.
All right, Atlanta.
Sure.
Atlanta.
Atlanta have confirmed to sign Edison.
That's a good one.
That's it. Also rumored to have signed Sharp, not confirmed yet. So you're looking. Didn't we? Yeah. So you've got Sharp, Edison, and Baby Bay, Erster, Gator, Pokefo, Hawk, FRD, Masa, and Dogman.
This is a team that I kind of wanted to bring up when you were talking about, franchise players earlier on in the show. And I think Seppi does a great job with this. And it looks like he's done the same thing with this team with Gator and Hawk. We kind of keeping them in tabs, moving Hawk into playoffs and showing that very, very solid talent. Not that it was that surprising, but being able to integrate him as quickly as they did and making the tactical decision to kind of practice on a different patch before the playoffs happened to kind of cut their regular season a little bit short. I think this makes sense. Like I'm willing to trust that, after what he did with Sinatra and Super, what he's doing with Hawk and Gator, that bringing these players in, and we've seen Edison before, very solid player. If they're bringing Sharp in, very talented, looks to be one of the stronger signings from contenders with Team Envy. I think these are great overall. I do have my questions around how much these players kind of overlap each other. I've always kind of thought of Edison as very much a hit scan player, and I believe Sharp is kind of the same thing. So I wonder if there's a little bit more to that than maybe I'm missing. But putting people around Erster that are going to help him kind of carry, I can't be mad at. Enlayer's been released. I think these two players fill his shoes better. I'm interested to see what they do with Baby Bay. Erster could very well be your franchise player if you wanted him to be. But yeah, solid all around. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I think like that DPS line is great. Will be interesting to see what other moves they make. I think have they been connected to anyone in terms of flex supports?
That's my knowledge. Not that I know.
Even though it pains me, I feel like they should probably look to just put Kodak on their academy roster again, and not two-way.
Sure.
Unless they have a roster slot open where they can just say, okay, we can do 3 flex supports, and then just get a stud on that position. I think that's like, I would say Dogman actually not terrible on, or actually pretty good on Moira as well.
Yeah.
So if we're going in with that same meta into the season, not overly concerned there. But I think if I was in that position, I certainly would try to get just like one of the many available very good flex supports, and at least have an alternative player.
Sure.
And I mean, they're set for main support. I think that's no problem. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Super good.
Tank line certainly interesting,
Solid.
right? Like,
I like it.
Yeah. If they can keep up that trajectory, I don't think we have any problems there. It's the question: can these players, like, sometimes players just hit their meta and then everything clicks?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Right. So
this
we don't
is one
know.
of the teams that I feel like has the highest chance to have shown themselves to have improved between season 2 and season 3. Like, think about it. Who can you say unequivocally has improved, just completely improved? Probably Philadelphia Fusion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He looks like a car. He looks like a car.
That was my point.
Okay, yeah.
Like Atlanta Reign.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas probably, but that's not a super high bar.
Yeah.
But there's still some question marks. Toronto, sure, maybe.
Yeah.
We even disagree about this on the show.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Toronto,
Yeah.
no, not really, or not Toronto. Sorry, Vancouver, no, probably
That's
not.
probably
Huge, 'cause
not.
San Francisco, not really changing.
Right.
So NYXL, probably not.
Hard to say. Yeah, probably not because their bar set very, very high.
So
Jesus.
I
You're
would
not
say,
wrong, yeah.
I would say, yeah. So you're looking at Philadelphia Fusion, Atlanta Reign, and I personally, I believe that Dallas Fuel are a
Yeah.
safe improvement.
Mm.
And I would also say, no, I wouldn't say that. Never mind.
Mm. Damn. Yeah, that's actually,
That's kind of interesting, right?
yeah. We could talk about maybe Boston, but we'll see.
You think?
Maybe.
I mean,
Ooh.
when you're
I
down
remember
at
their
20th through
spot.
15th,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could throw a dart at a dartboard, pick some players up from
Probably
contenders,
improve, yeah.
and then 50-50 you improve or you stay the same as long as you made changes.
Yeah, I guess. I don't think that I don't know. I don't know if I'd be confident in saying that that's the roster. That could just be something else.
Houston,
could just be like a patch.
So chat makes a good point. We don't think about Houston as an Overwatch League team all that
Well,
often on the
sometimes,
show.
yeah. I'm excited to start thinking about them.
Yeah.
Hopefully this season.
I think Houston improved greatly from a coaching staff perspective, but they
Exactly.
didn't do any
Yes.
But all they've
Yes.
added is hydration, right?
Blasé.
and Blasé.
Sorry,
And those
yes,
two
Blasé,
moves
right
combined
there,
don't
verbatim.
make a whole lot of sense. So
Yeah, it's still like pre.
I mean,
screen.
that's the thing. Like, it's just going from this point on. It's not necessarily that they won't make any moves anymore in the market, and we're saying that in projection of what that will be. It's just at this point in the off season. That's
So let me pin you down on this, okay? You think, or would you say that you have more faith in this Boston roster improving from 19th than Toronto does at 17th?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know if I agree with
that's
that.
a really good.
I don't
That's
think
a
I agree
really
with
good
that.
question.
Yeah, I think so.
No, not a chance. Not a chance.
I need to.
I think Defiant. I don't think Defiant are going to be good, but I
Dear
definitely
Mineral.
don't think they're going to be 17th.
I don't think that the current Boston roster we have right now is a very indicative one of what we're going to see at the beginning of the season.
Maybe. I mean, again, from what I see now, that's how I feel.
Like, do you
Things
think
could change.
that their flex tank player is going to be a two-way player?
Just to clarify,
What?
Moving?
Who?
Mufin.
No. Wait, he is, right? He is a
Moving is
two-way.
a two-way player. Do you think that
Yeah.
their main flex tank player is going to be a two-way player in the 2020 season?
Are you asking if Mufin is going to start the entire season?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Do you think that they're not going to have a
Sure.
flex DPS? No, they're not.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I have to see those two spots filled before I can say that for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And again,
I like Mineral. He's been on the show. I have a bias.
I like Mineral too. I just
Why
don't
don't
know
you
if I
like
like
Mineral?
this team.
Why don't you like Mineral and want him on the show ever again? That's what I. That's
Joe's
I need
already
to
too late.
answer to Mineral now. Be like,
It's
hey,
already
Joe
too
doesn't
late.
like you anymore.
They
Yes.
say I sit on the fence too much, and then I pick a side, and I get criticized anyways, boys. All right, back to the fence. Back to the fence.
I already DM'd Mineral. I wrote, "Dear
Tell him
Mineral,
I hate him.
I hate
Tell
you,"
him I hate him.
and signed Volamel.
Yeah, that's the one.
Sign
If
ball
you're
now.
watching Mineral, he was too much of a wussy to tell you himself.
the coach's champion, Volamel.
Oh my god!
Whatever. What was that thing that you won?
Don't worry about it. It wasn't important.
Okay.
It wasn't important. Don't worry about
Wow. It's not going to say it. All right.
it. No.
If Axiom is starting, it's going to be a decent team, unless it's a Reinhardt meta. London Spitfire. Hey. Times are changing.
Yeah. That's a weird one, right? Isn't it? Like, I hate
It's hard
that they
to-
sucks up so much talent as well. They should have just remained bad, so more other teams could have gotten their good agents and made more great teams. But that's not happening. They're not just rolling over, and I don't like that. No, like I think it would like currently, and that's by the way, an interesting narrative that we never really unrolled again, because in the start of the season we had the great parity, right? For teams, and then in the end it didn't look that parity anymore, right? There was a rather clear hierarchy, or much more pronounced hierarchy in the middle.
Sure.
But to me, it feels like teams are really like meeting in the middle again in terms of their aspirations of roster builds. So, like I had a discussion recently about that. I thought that a lot of super teams were building, especially like Seoul and Shanghai, don't seem to be one of them. So that's -2. That's already a little bit putting a dent in that theory, certainly. I think Titans will regress. I think Shock will still remain great.
Yeah.
I think NYXL should be a question
solid.
mark. Yeah, but I don't know how much Pavane had to do with
I think they're
that
fine.
success, right?
I think they're fine.
So we'll see how that goes. And they haven't made any moves so far either. So right now it feels like there's a lot of gray area, and then there's San Francisco Shock. Like, we'll see.
Did you see Hastro's tweet when they announced Doha?
Yeah, man.
What do you say?
Said, we finally made a Dallas Fuel roster move that none of the basement dwelling analysts leaked from their bedroom.
Preach.
Sir, this is a multi-purpose room. Just kidding. I don't leak shit. It's as good of a confirmation as the JMac Glister. I trust our peeps on that. If it's not in there, we're not talking about it. Get over it. Make your own spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's tough to say exactly what London's how to feel about London
there are
until
people
we see
who
what they look
believe
like.
that Sanguinar is.
And I'm not gonna lie, couldn't tell you who that is. I wouldn't be able to tell you how good he is or bad he is. Like, I don't know.
Didn't they have these like soft,
I'm missing something.
like these pretty straightforward teaser videos and whatnot? It's like, yeah, I think that's pretty much a given that like what were the players? Definitely Glist, Bernard Fuse, we know, right?
Bernard Fuse and Krillin,
JMac, and Sanguinar are also some of the vague hints that were given by the Spitfire trailer. So it's in a sense exciting because everyone's like, this is like a rookie team, right? For the most, isn't a non-rookie other than Krillin, who's, I mean, by the definition,
it depends on your definition of rookie.
Yeah. But that is sort of exciting, especially seeing what Pavani can do with that. It's just very hard to rank them. Like, we'll see.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's hard to rank a team that has 3 confirmed players, 3 rumored players, and at least one of it's just All right. Last one I want to talk about. LA Gladiators still have 4. Oh, actually, no, that wasn't it at all. But not the last one we're talking about. Did we talk about the Gladiators yet today? We did.
Yeah.
We talked about them a little bit earlier when we So we talked about Gladiators. We talked about Uprising, right?
No.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Let's talk about Florida Mayhem.
What's there to talk about? Did they do anything?
Oh, the fact that they're
They
lacking.
only have 7 players.
Yeah, announced anyway. Like we can pretty much.
They have 6
Yeah,
announced.
I mean, I would've
they have 6 announced.
assumed.
1 rumored, which is Fate at main tank.
Yeah. I think the only thing that we know by now is that the agents that they're keeping would have to be re-signed by now in order to still be players, right? Because the contract length ended, so they would be free agents now. I don't know why they would be holding back announcements of that, so that's probably not happening. So the 7 players that we know are likely what they're starting to work from. And I expected them to release more. And now I'm very confused what they're actually doing and who they actually will be able to get. And I think now they're scraping. It is very possible. That is, by the way. Am I going there?
Do it.
Oh,
do
yeah.
it.
Okay,
You
let's
already,
do it.
Yeah, you already. Yeah, you
I
already
think
flexed
they
on
got
one.
screwed over by leaks this offseason. And
Leagues don't make an impact on overall rosters.
And while you can argue if that should be the case or shouldn't be, we'll have to see what they end up with. I hope they become vocal about that process some way along the lines. I mean, at the end of the day, they got to deal with it, and we'll see.
All right. Who do you want to see on that team?
Oh, that's a question.
Yeah. So for the longest time, we didn't even really have to think too much about who they're getting, because it just seemed like, okay, they have a couple of players, they're getting runaway, like there's nothing to think about, right? Now it's like, okay, now we got to get back to the drawing board. And I'll be honest, I haven't actually done that. I haven't looked at the roster. I already thought and expressed as much before that I thought the players that they signed were rather uninspired in terms of just like middling talent, especially the armament players that should not be recruited mid-season and committed to with a contract, and that they should have held out and gotten more high-quality, promising talent. I actually think that I'm probably higher on them that I'm probably higher on Spitfire at this point than this group of players. A lot of them are like they have like also a mix of just very veteran players and like very veteran players and newer ones. But of course, like I don't know if the players like Sire Player already, like when you have a season where you're so down because admittedly because of the meta, then it's a question if those people can pop up again when the meta is more shifted towards them. If they're keeping Fade, which it looks like it, not 100% sure what's happening there. By the way, that's not me leaking information. That's just what's out there. That will be interesting. Also, don't know how good of a tank he actually can still be. BQB Chris. I mean, Chris is. I look at this roster, and Chris is right about the only one where I'm not concerned about. I feel like.
But you're also not like super jazzed about putting Chris as your main support. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. I don't think he's gonna feed. But I don't think he's gonna win you a championship. Byram again, like, I think I would agree that flex support in general has diminished in terms of importance and resource demand, but I don't know if that's the player who you want to be fielding up a role that has in the past been very in demand. It depends. I'm still not entirely sold on how much it's diminished, but I think it's still a solid investment option. Same thing with like main tank. I don't hate crying a gargoyle, but I don't think that they're going to win you anything. In terms of titles, like I think they could be a solid like middle to lower middle of the pack like tank line, but then you look at the DPS and it's like, okay, Saya, there's a very solid, there's a chance that you could be good, and then there's a lot of other chances where I'm like, I don't know what you do if they're going to lean into your hero pool that is very much like hit scan, and you can be very, very good at hit scan. But where else are we filling out those absences? Where are we filling those holes? And then who are we filling them with? It's not super not super good, I would say. I'm willing to be. I'm hoping that this team actually gets it together, because I'm really tired of just pooping on them. I'd like them to be good for a change. I'd like all the teams to be good. Like I'd like to see London do well. I don't want bad teams. I want everybody to be competitive. I want to be interested in the Overwatch League every week. I don't want bye weeks. And Florida for the last 2 seasons has been a bye week. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Yeah.
I don't want this season. So please give me something good.
Yeah.
I got something good for you.
What's that?
The Dallas Fuel.
Yay.
Here we go.
Tell me
This is some moves.
Dallas Fuel today announced the signing of Doha.
Ooh.
They recently announced Decay. I think that was last week, right?
Trade for OG.
Brought in Gamsu from Shanghai.
Yeah.
Solid.
And then have hung on to Note. Got Harry Hook closer and Unko on supports.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Yeah. Dallas making some moves. I like it.
That's 12. That's 12, and your support line is that. That's 12 players. Oh no. Oof. Yeah, that's an oof, dude.
It's not the best support line ever, but
I would much rather have that be my support line than have either of the alternatives be my DPS or tank lines.
Yes.
So yeah,
I don't
imagine a tank line without Gamsu, or imagine a DPS line without Doha or Decay.
Yeah, I don't think
I will take the support lines. I will take the. Yep, I will take whatever Harry Hook closer Unko combination it takes to not have Taimu and Zachary be my DPS. Sorry.
Yep. I think this is good overall. I do have my questions on how this team is going to coalesce. I think there's a lot of I just hope this doesn't go the same way that the Valiant did. We'll put it like that, right? There's a lot of splintering. There's a lot of fracturing if things don't necessarily go immediately well. Is the coaching staff going to be able to handle that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that any coaching staff, it's not a knock on Arrow, but that's just like some hard stuff to be able to deal with and to be able to recover from, on top of preparing for travel and preparing for practice each week. That's another level of added stress that you're kind of opting into. Hopefully that can be mitigated as best you can. It depends on the players as well. Are they prone to doing that kind of thing? I don't know. But we'll have to see. I don't know. It's going to be
get a nice long love letter from Taimu on Twitter this week.
Yeah, and I feel for him. Like, that's it's rough.
I can respect, self-reflection. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
it's
it.
Like, I'll just go ahead and say, like, I've been an avid follower of Taimu's career. I would even say Taimu is probably the player I'm closest to where I would justify calling myself a fan of.
Sure.
It's just like, it's also in the back of my mind, it's always like, if he gets that right, can he still maybe? Can he?
I get it.
But
yeah, I think there's a lot of people pulling for him for sure.
Yeah, it's a hard one because also I feel like there's something about being vulnerable outwardly and being flawed and showing these flaws. It's the same thing why people felt, I assume, attracted to or gravitating towards the Fran.
Sure.
Those are just those characters. Also, these super gifted individuals, right? It's just like it really shows that raw talent is not just the one thing. There's definitely something that the demons that we all got to battle in order to be able to get where we might want to be, and then also to say maybe I don't want to be there anymore. And that doesn't seem to be the case for Tamu yet. But yeah, I will say, like before, if I'm being honest, I still, and that might be my bias talking, he's probably from the old Envy crew, the last one I would say retire. I would much like before that, I would definitely say Mickey and then Harry Hook.
I would
open
switch
up the roster slot. That is
Harry and Taimu.
Okay. But you would say Mickey should, like, maybe he can move into a different role for the team. I would say I also don't see
he could be
like
a walking, talking trophy case for all I care. Sorry, dude.
The thing is, they still haven't picked up a Korean coach that other than Vol'jin who's still there. I don't think that's enough. I think they definitely need some serious help in the strategical department as well. They definitely need to be making some coaching pickups. So that's a big question mark for me for this roster as well. And what can they do with the flex support role? Because while I'm not totally down on Anko, where I'm thinking, okay, oh my god, he's a bottom performer. I still would definitely like someone to be back up or like starting out of
you
him.
don't check off that you don't check off that position and go on to the next. You're like, yeah, I'll go, fine, good, great, next. You're kind of like,
not anymore, at least.
Could be worse, could be better. I mean, I don't. I have this to say about. I feel for Taimu. I am a fan of Taimu. But man, Twitter is not the place to do this for the fifth time.
That's interesting.
I'm sorry. I'm just like, if you are, we've seen this cyclical Taimu where he comes from this point of, doing really well to whatever, having a falling out, having some personal life issues, posting about it on Twitter, at my bottom, blah, 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 optimistic about the future, trying to come back up. And I'm at the point where I'm like, this is no longer therapeutic, and it's, I don't want to say it's grandstanding, but it's a point of just like,
and I understand how one can have that feeling. Yeah,
I need Twitter to validate my feelings. And like he doesn't owe the fans an explanation. He doesn't owe.
You might feel that way though. I don't want to invalidate that.
But
his
again,
outreach
if he's getting the help he's saying he's getting, I'm hoping the first thing that they say is that you don't have to go tell your 60,000 Twitter followers what you're going through again. Like, I don't think that that's part of the process. And again, like, man, it sucks because so many people are going to take this as I think that Taimu's a bad person or immature or what he's doing is wrong. I personally do not agree with the strategy of, I keep seeing this relapse into time to tell Twitter everything I've been struggling with. And I'm like, there's gotta be way better ways to do this.
Yeah.
So I
understand that position, especially when one has just been both brought up and is under the assumption that one should just quietly work on themselves, and it's just exacerbating the problems that you're trying to battle by making it public. I will also say there's definitely a psychological effect that's well researched, where it's like, if I announce to you that I'm going to lose weight, I'm now less likely to do so, unless I attach some counterweight to it, because I'm already getting the satisfaction of having said so, rather
And the
than having to
support
achieve
doing
stuff.
it.
doing
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
like, if you actually want to do it, you either get a buddy and you drag yourself alongside each other, or you just work and just tell nobody. And at some point, someone says, "Jesus Christ, you lost half of yourself," right?
And yeah, and honestly, if this was the first or even the second time he's done it, I think it would be far less harsh on it. But this is a recurring thing we've seen
I
in
understand, yeah.
Taimu since season 1. And like there's a few hard facts that we have to have as fans. Number 1, we will never see NV Taimu probably ever again. Optimistically, at the highest of my expectations, we see him flex onto a few heroes on a few maps for a few stages and perform moderately well.
This is why I hate. Yeah, I think they should just. I think he maybe a contender season, just getting the confidence.
Yeah,
back
I'd love to see him play in contenders and actually see him starting on a team and really test and see where he's at comparatively.
I think Taimu in a different healthy state would have made a great player coach.
Yeah.
Like imagine what it would be like to be Overwatch League Season 1, be thought of as the one of the hottest talent with one of the highest expectations put on your shoulder to perform, and then largely underperform, get sat, struggle with physical health issues and losing weight and gaining weight and going back and forth and in other vices. And then to continue to go through this cycle over and over again. And it's clear that he wants to play and he wants to see himself pre-Overwatch League season. I don't want to say it's clear. My perception is he still has really high expectations of what he can achieve as a player. And I think that we're still seeing somebody who is coming to terms with the fact that might not be the case. Like I've had to like come to a realization that I'm not going to be a professional baseball player. He's just a lot closer to the trophy than any of us were for our dedicated whatever that childhood dream was. Maybe you guys are getting your childhood dream. I don't know. But for me, I'm like, I'm not an astronaut and I'm not a professional baseball player.
Yeah. Do you ever have these moments where you go like, wow, this very successful personality is 28. I'm 25 now, so I have 3 more years. Oh, this very successful personality is 26. I have 17 days to accomplish as much.
Comparison is where dreams go to die.
Yeah, it's
I don't know. Like,
it's also really unhealthy to, like, imagine being a basically ape that evolved to interact in a group of 120 people and, you know, works to support and become the best of these 120, and then suddenly the internet pops up and now you gotta battle to be one of the best a billion. That's just like, okay, that's your brain now. And now we got an Instagram model. We gotta like compete at the ladder, and if we're not top 50, we feel bad about ourselves. And like it's
we don't compare ourselves to other Overwatch podcasts because they're all better. We just do our own thing.
I recently had a realization why
Joe, that felt a little personal.
Like, not really. I mean, I take it true. I mean, yeah, just stick your head in the sand and do what you want to do. No reason to compare.
The interesting thing is, for me, like, I try to figure out why I couldn't be as creative on a bike than I could when I was just walking around. Okay. And so if I just take long walks, my mind can wander, right? I completely tune off. When I'm sitting on a bike, I'm like, okay, there's this guy on a bike in front of me. I gotta take him over. And I'm constantly in competitive mode. Like, oh, there's a car. I gotta be like at the next pole before the car is there and stuff like this. And there's constantly like competition. Nobody competes while walking. Like the point of walking is to be as
sounds like
free
you're a
as you can
loser
possibly be.
walker, by the way. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, but I feel like there's something so inherent in just like competition and how it's baked into us, especially through the internet from a young age. And it's so unhealthy too. Realistically, now don't start me on, oh, you should be better than you were the day before, because then I'll actually start competing in walking with myself. What? I needed an hour
like
20.
It's the ghost trials in Mario Kart on Nintendo 64.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing. It's also
no.
every time you tell Yiska to get better than he was yesterday, he keeps trying to replay and get better at Apex, and we're just ship has sailed, Yiska. Sorry.
This feels so bad.
Just
feels so bad.
You carry me, and you know it.
No.
Oh. Yeah. Anyways, I hope the best for Taimu. I don't agree with the method. I think that he does and can have a long, bright future in esports, but I don't think it's a player. I don't think it's as a player anymore. And I go ahead, prove me wrong, dude. Give me a Brett Favre, Minnesota Vikings comeback, take him to the championship, whatever. I'm fine. Like, I will eat those words for a year. If that ends up happening. But there's also a part of me where just like, dude, I just want to see you like healthy and happy. And
sure. I want to see him healthy, happy, less weight, on an analysis desk, unleashed.
Yep.
That could be dope.
Yeah.
Just call people trash. That's all I want. Someone that's just like, hello, my name is Trash. You're trash. Yeah.
Trash.
Yeah. If he was in a good headspace and would abide by some of the filters set in front of him, yeah, I think it would. I didn't know I liked it until I heard it. So yeah, I'm willing to give that a shot.
Same for Bedosian, right? Or not Bedosian. Sorry, Birdring.
I mean, he would probably not be able to look past the counter, so that would be the first. Can you stack boxes this high?
He needs a couple boxes.
Jeez.
Mr. X just lifting him up on those boxes. I know, buddy. I know.
All right, fair enough. I think we did a show. and a half.
Nice.
Yeah, 2 hours, 7 minutes. People said they like longer shows. We're giving it to them.
Give them what I want. Yeah.
You give them what they want. Wife's out of town until Fridays, so
really? Oh,
I can do whatever I want.
Damn.
Which is going to be playing TFT with you guys, I think.
Nice.
Let the degeneracy continue.
I will say I slept all the 4 hours that I needed to wait in order to install my modem again. So I'm up.
So you're just awake.
We're up. We're going. We're playing.
I'm juiced on coffee as well. Let's go.
He's juiced.
Jeez, this might be legit. Good show, guys.
Yes.
Good show.
I enjoyed it. It's a good time.
At the end of the week, we're going to have all 20 rosters with at least 8 players. We'll probably have a pretty good idea on, I would say, the foundations. There's still some spots where you can see like, yeah, that person is there, but I really hope that person isn't starting there. Because I think, yeah. So, but thanks for hanging out, guys. I do appreciate it. Chat, you guys are great. To whoever I banned for being cheeky, welcome back. You're unbanned now. So, cheers for that. Ice Ham Jello, thanks for the 118 bits, by the way. Want to support the show? Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Lots of cool perks there. We're going to rework the $250 goal. I think it's going to probably, I'm going to say this in front of Joe and Yiska ahead of time so that they can't back out, and say it's probably going to be an extra episode a month. So if you want to see that happen, yeah, I knew they wouldn't say no. If you want to see an extra episode of Tactical Crouch each month, Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. We're at like 150, 160 bucks. So
Make it happen.
it's not that far at all. Another great way to support the show is to subscribe right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/KickedTripod. We're at 38 subs right now. We love to sit around 50. 50 feels good. Just feels great. So that's kind of the goal. And you'll also get invites to our game nights for that. So make sure to subscribe right here. Other than that, I've got nothing else. Yiska, what do you got going on this week, man?
I think I'm going to start just making thinking it over on the rosters that seem to be more finalized than others. Just trying to assess where they're going with that season, trying to build a framework. I think I'm just going to shoot it from the hip in that regard. I'm just going to talk through the teams, see what current infrastructure, that those are you know all these aspects where I think that will land, and then once I get to certain teams, I'm sure new aspects will come to mind. Won't go back to the first ones, but I think I'll just stream of consciousness through these teams, so I'll have a good idea of where to be when we eventually go for our preseason rankings.
Yep.
Do you need me to redesign those layouts for you?
I mean, if the wife is out of town, you know.
You're bored.
So bored.
Sure.
Yeah, if you
I'll
want,
take you up on that.
we'll chat and see kind of what you want.
Sure.
Sweet, yeah. Because I like your thinking over things now, but I think I've watched too many of them and I want them to change. And I designed the first one, so I can say that. So, yeah. Joe, what about you, man? Outside of winning competitions.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna talk about it, I did a thing and helped, or did a coaching thing and did some analysis, and guess I won. And a lot of thanks go to my circle of friends, you know, everybody here and Dream especially. Like a lot of that came from his ideas about the game. And yeah, no, a lot of thanks to people around me for kind of keeping me intelligent about the game and really challenging me to think about the game a little bit differently. So I think that's more credit to everybody in my circle rather than me in particular. But yeah, just the typical writing. I just published an article on why Overwatch 2 could be successful, why it's a sequel. I don't know. That's a thing. Then probably gonna do a little BlizzCon vlog on the YouTube and you know, following Yiska, you know, talk about some teams. You know, might have to getting closer to the roster deadline, so you know, gonna have to start thinking about the Lord bet this year. So we'll see.
You're way too modest. But also, you're welcome.
Again.
You're welcome for making you better. It's largely me, I think.
Yes, thank you.
It goes myself, Dream, then everybody else. I think so. Have you guys ever had bottle caps? They have bottle caps in Germany.
That's such a
Yes. Yeah. What do you think we do? Just like
No, like the candy.
No, like candy.
Oh,
It's like garbage candy.
It's
what is the filling in that?
It's sugar.
It's just sugar.
It's
It's just sugar.
So
Yeah.
sugar is presented in 3 different forms. Bottle caps.
Yeah.
Pez.
Okay.
And pixie sticks.
Okay. We have both of the others, but not this one. And this is round?
Yeah, it's shaped like a bottle cap.
A small bottle cap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a smaller version of a bottle cap, but it's just slightly flavored sugar.
Nice.
The Walmart I lived by growing up used to have 2 packs of bottle caps for $1. So we would drink Mountain Dew and eat bottle caps and play Halo 2.
And by the age of 11, you all had diabetes. Like, what's going on?
I would tell you, but I haven't been to a doctor in 12 years. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, yeah. Just
I've been bottling my pee as sweet tea for over a decade now.
All right, that's going to do it for us.
That's the title of the show.
You can find me everywhere at KickedTripod, the show at twitch.tv/KickedTripod or youtube.com/KickedTripod. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter. Otherwise, search anywhere on the internet for Tactical Crouch. You'll find us. This has been a fun show. We might be back after the show, the music. We might not. I don't know. Don't hold me to anything. You're not the boss of me.